Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for the Q&A, so let me go ahead and put on my hat. Let's get to the first question. All right. You've said in the past, 20 rep squats are a proven method of getting bigger. Is this in the sense of sets of 20 or taking a weight to near complete failure around the 20 rep mark? All right, I can see why there's some confusion there. Okay, when people talk about 20 rep squat programs, this is not, it doesn't mean you're just doing 20 reps on the squat. The 20 rep squat programs are also called Widowmakers. What they are, you take a weight on your squat, which is around your 12 rep max. You know, if you can do 200 pounds for 12 reps or 225 or whatever it happens to be, and you get to a set where you go to about 10 reps. And when you get to the 10 rep mark, you're 2 reps short of failure, you start doing rest pause reps. For people who don't know what rest pause reps are, you take a couple of breaths, wait a couple seconds, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, whatever it takes, and do another rep. Ideally, when you do the 20 rep squat this way, you take your 12 rep max all the way out to 20 reps. Because remember, rep maxes are generally semi-continuous reps, maybe a second or two tops in between each one. In this case, though, you start getting up there, and before long, you're taking 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds between reps. What you do on the 20 rep squat like that, you get that set to 20 reps, but you take as long as you need to do each individual rep. If you start grinding reps, you wait a few seconds longer, and if it takes you a minute or 2 minutes or whatever it takes for you to get the 20 reps, you get to that 20 reps without re-racking the weight. You leave that bar on your shoulders, up on top of your back, until you get to 20 reps. Now, when you do that, you're done with all your lower body work for the day. Some systems have people do this once a week, some twice a week, some even 3 times a week. But the thing is, a program like this, you are basically doing a rest pause to do continual, to do one big set, but it's like a continual extended set. And what people need to realize, rest pause training like this has actually been shown in some cases to produce metabolites in the muscles as if you had done multiple sets. All right, so what you get from a 20 rep squat like that, you might actually stimulate the same amount of muscle growth that you would have gotten from doing 3 or sometimes even 4 sets of squats. And the reason is because you've already fatigued everything and you haven't rested, you're still working with a moderately heavy weight that's capable of hitting upper threshold fibers. Every single rep that you do in the continued set gives you similar growth stimulation, metabolites, and metabolic fatigue, and muscle fiber recruitment as if you had taken a set to almost failure like the last couple reps. So normally, had you done a set like that, you would have only gotten around 3 reps to where you got that fatigue that you were shooting for. Usually starting around rep 10, you know, and in this case, you got to rep 10 as your first one. You ended up with about 11 reps that gave you the benefit, the metabolic fatigue and everything of the final 2 to 3 reps or so of a normal set. And by doing that, you end up getting those near failure reps. Again, the ones that stimulate metabolic fatigue, release all these metabolic metabolites into your bloodstream. The ones that hit the hardest to hit upper threshold muscle fibers. Normally you're getting, say, maybe 3 of those. Well, you've gotten 11 out of one set. So basically, you've gotten the benefits of doing somewhere between 3 and 4 sets potentially in terms of what you're looking for in metabolites and everything in your bloodstream. So what that basically means, you will probably see similar muscle growth gains to doing multiple sets. But you've done it in one set. So again, it's a way to just create very, very intense workload density and to take one set into a continued state to the point where it continues to hammer upper threshold fibers as if it would on nearly the last rep in a set, but you've done it repeatedly. Fantastic way to grow, but it is also a way to overtrain easily if you aren't careful. But yeah, it's a proven system. Many a high school football player has gotten really big and strong doing systems like this. And it doesn't have to be limited to just squats, but it's just very popular because of the nature of the squat exercise for field athletes. It's historically been done with squats, and it's called Widowmakers, it's called breathing squats, things like that. But hypothetically, someone could apply this same concept to other exercises. It doesn't have to just be the squat. It's just the squat is the most popular and common one for that. All right, next question. Jason, what is your opinion on loaded stretches like the kind seen in DC training? Some say it's great for muscle growth, however, others say it can detrain the stretch reflex. Would it be useful or detrimental for someone interested in athletic performance as well as muscle size and strength? All right, DC training, also known as dog crap training, which was originated by Dante Trudel. The weighted stretches, you know what, I think that's the most controversial part of DC training. The thing I just mentioned in the last question, the 20 rep squats, that is kind of the basis of DC training like that on all your lifts. So this is a great question to segue into that. He then follows it up with weighted stretches. You know what? Weighted stretches are an unproven method. Can they detrain the stretch reflex? I don't know. I've not seen any data there. They might. I don't think they will, but they might. Are they a potential growth stimulator? Yeah, they might be a small growth stimulator. And I think they're probably going to be more so in people who use anabolic drugs, particularly anabolics that have a tendency to increase satellite cell proliferation, because that's what weighted stretches seem to do. They seem to cause in animals, when we do extreme weighted stretching in animals, we see muscle tissue hyperplasia. That's creating of new muscle cells, not just growth of the existing ones. It could stimulate additional hyperplasia in drugs that are hypothetically capable of inducing hyperplasia, things like trenbolone, growth hormone, things like that. Maybe. It remains unproven. So that's one of those that I think is the most controversial part of DC training. I know the other part absolutely works. The rest pause training absolutely works, and it works amazingly well. The weighted stretches, I don't know. We've got animal models for it, but we've done to animals in labs on this. And when we say we, I mean the human race. I don't mean me personally. People freak out when I say we because basically they're fucking morons. But we, the human species, what we have done would be considered pretty cruel and horrific. And there's no way they're ever going to let an ethics review board is ever going to let us test this on human beings. All right, because you're talking basically Auschwitz, Nazi Germany type medical experimentation to do the sort of weighted stretches on animals if we were to try to do that on people. So we don't really have a good basis for this in humans. And the amount of weights that are being used in this, I don't think it's ever been studied. So we need studies on it before we can really say whether it's useful or not. It falls into that area of it might be useful. It might be. I wouldn't throw it out. I think it's probably, educated guess, going to be more useful for people who are on drugs. All right, next question. Hi, Jason. If I come into the gym and I'm able to lift, for example, 110 pounds for a 5x5, and then the next week come in and hit a PR set of 120 times 5, but then have to drop the weight to 100 pounds for the next 4 sets, did I technically progress? Because even though I hit a PR set, my total weight lifted, for the example, the 5x5 was 520 pounds versus 550 pounds from the previous week. Thanks. All right, great question. We get into the difference here between different types of PRs when it comes to stimulating growth. Your best peak set was a PR. Yeah, that's a PR. You're stronger. But the other thing is you've been holding the other stuff in the tank. So the real question we get into here is different types of PRs. And in this case, your other one, had you been doing that and done that the first time, that would fall under a total tonnage or a total workload PR. This one is going to be a peak set PR, so it's a peak strength PR. And usually we only concern ourselves with strength PRs, meaning that's your 5 rep max, for example. That's a new 5 rep max for you. And you know it was probably a max because you got weaker on the subsequent sets. You lost 20% of your strength on the second, third, fourth set or whatever. That means that you probably reached near muscle failure. So that was a peak set. What I would say to most guys, don't try to train a lift further after peak sets because you're going to have reduced muscle fiber recruitment. You're already fatigued. If you're going to ramp up and do peak sets, I wouldn't bother to do a 5x5 with back off sets the way that you're doing them. You're not getting as much benefit from it. You would be better off using like the Bill Stars type system where you ramp up to a peak set. You don't start with a peak set because you're going to lose strength. You're going to stimulate less growth anyways with the following sets. They're going to be nowhere near as useful afterwards. The question becomes which one probably stimulated more growth. That can be difficult to say. You know what? The answer as to which one's going to stimulate more growth, because it was a PR, but is it a useful PR? Honestly, I can't tell you. That one's too hard to call. Educated guess tells me I could go either direction. This answer is I simply don't know which one's going to stimulate more growth. But it is a PR nonetheless, but probably not the best way to go about hitting your PRs. All right, next question. Hey Jason, how should one go about programming for someone who is effectively in different stages of training on different lifts? Basically, he's saying his squat and deadlift are a lot higher than his bench. His bench is still novice. All right, short answer, bro. This is a really easy one. If you really want to focus on your bench because it's lagging behind your other lifts and it's important enough to you to focus on it, take a step back on your other lifts. Reduce them about 5% so that you're not hammering your recovery as much and you're just maintaining your strength, maintaining your muscle mass, and spend 6 to 12 weeks, depending on how you want to cycle it, focusing heavier on your bench. Do a bench dominant program. Do a program that focuses on your bench. Find your weaker links in your bench, probably your overhead press. I mean, if you're still a novice, I would do a lot of bench press and a lot of overhead press as accessory. Focus on progressing on your bench press and let your other exercises stagnate for just a little while. In fact, you can even take them back about 5%. So if you're squatting 315 for 5 reps, take 15, 20 pounds off. Do 295, do 300 for 5 reps. Same thing on your deadlift. Scale them back just a little bit to maintain your size and strength and focus on your bench press to get it caught up. Because what ends up happening, the more lifts you do, generally the less you progress on any given lift. The less you progress because your body's making different adaptations, different recovery. In this case, you got a lot of other muscles in your body that are having to recover, but you're also learning the neural patterns of lifting the heavier and heavier weight on those lifts. You're better off if you're trying to get better at any given lift on a specific lift is to do fewer total lifts and try to progress on fewer lifts if your goal is to actually get a lot better at one specific one. So pretty straightforward. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.